Welcome to the Kingdom Business Forum, a program where we equip believers in business to advance the kingdom through their work platform. I'm Vicki Norris.
I'm Patrice Sagay.
Now, I met Patrice when I went through his biblical entrepreneurship training program, and it personally transformed me and my business. And now I operate my business and my life with the kingdom in mind. And that's why I'm passionate about helping you discover the power of kingdom principles for your business. Now, Patrice, I can't believe it, but today we have another leader in the faith and work movement here in our studio, our new studio here at Dreammakers. And I want to know how you met Stephen Christensen, our guest today, because
That's right.
you're out and about all the time.
Well, actually, Steve actually met us. Steve, somehow he got in on our email list, and he was getting information about us. And then one day, as they were pursuing the possibility of developing an entrepreneurship curriculum, and he discovered that we were having a biblical entrepreneurship class, and that piqued his interest. So Steve is actually from California, Southern California. So Steve registered to come to take a B1 and to get certified as a teacher to look at whether or not this curriculum might fit what God has laid upon their heart to do in Orange County, California. And by God's grace, it did fit. And now Steve is a distributor with us down there.
Wow.
He's also got a license. So we've partnered together to look at how do we reach the business community in California through biblical entrepreneurship. So we're excited about working with Steve. And Steve is actually here. Stephen is actually here because he's actually here for Biblical Entrepreneurship 2, which is the second phase of BE. He's just a dynamic teacher, a man with tremendous vision. And what I love about him most is that he's about completion and not competition.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was just going to say that this is a perfect example of unity in marketplace ministry, because why recreate the wheel if you're looking for an entrepreneurship curriculum? If Nehemiah Project International Ministries has begun one a decade ago, and it's trained thousands of people across the world. So,
amen. And that's the role that we see ourselves serving, Vicki. I mean, we're not a small group organization. We're not, we're primarily a curriculum development education organization. And so we want to serve the body of Christ. We want to serve various marketplace ministries by providing them with relevant, practical, Christ-centered curriculum.
That's perfect. Well, I want to introduce our listeners and viewers of the Kingdom Business Forum. If you've just tuned in, you have found us here at Kingdom Business Forum. And I'd like you to meet our guest. His name is Stephen Christensen. He's a leader in the nonprofit and higher education fields who draws upon more than 25 years of diversified leadership, management, and fundraising experience to design and implement comprehensive fund development campaigns and marketing programs. Since July of 2010, he is serving as the Vice President of Marketing of T-Hub LLC, a startup video communications company. The reason that we have him here in our studio today, however, is because he has founded a discipleship and spiritual growth ministry in 2008 called Faith and Work Life in Newport Beach, California. And he serves as the volunteer president of that organization. And I am excited for him to tell you more about what Faith and Work Life does. But their mission is to integrate their faith and their work to teach entrepreneurs to do so by offering events, curriculum, and other programs working with Christians in the workplace, business, and as well as churches, colleges, and universities. So welcome to the program, Stephen. We're glad to have you here.
Thank you, Leslie. Hello, Patrice.
And welcome to Portland.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here. And we haven't even rained on you yet. So
Not yet.
maybe you'll come back. So, well, I'm excited for you to be here in studio with us today. How's your experience been, first of all, with BE here in Oregon? You've come to our headquarters here. How's the BE curriculum treating you so far?
Well, it's been treating me well. Patrice is a gifted teacher, and the rest of the team as well. So I've enjoyed the experience. It's been insightful. It's been inspirational, and it's really fired me up to take this curriculum and bring it to Southern California, the region that I live in. Mm-hmm. We serve from Los Angeles to San Diego County to Riverside County. I was telling Patrice at lunch, that region serves 20 million people.
Wow.
I mean, it's bigger than many countries. And so the opportunity to have a kingdom impact, and it's an entrepreneurial community. Mm-hmm. They call it the Tech Coast. And the opportunity to bring these principles and practices is phenomenal.
that it's very catalytic to get this program, I think, into that tech community. Wow. I want you to give our listeners an idea a little bit about the problems that Christians are facing in integrating their life and their work. I know from your website where I was at this afternoon, I was just seeing this problem that you present, and I think we know what it is in marketplace ministry, but many of our listeners still don't understand that disconnect between work life and personal life.
Well, sure. The issue that we deal with, a faith and work life, first, our mission statement is to help Christians integrate their faith in their work so God is glorified and the kingdom expanded. So that's our mission statement. And we came up with the name Faith and Work Life in looking at actually the life of a human. In our life, we have three major spheres of activity. We have our family life, we have our faith and social life, and then we have our work life. And the challenge is that people who go to church, they integrate their faith on Sunday. And we have some good programs to sort of help them integrate their faith at home, focus on the family and things of this nature. But where we're missing it is integrating their faith in their work. And so you got this compartmentalization, you've got this divide. And so since the work life is the area that faith gets left out of, as we thought about our ministry, we said, well, let's bring faith and work life together, hence the name. We wanted a descriptive name, and faith and work life was sort of born out of some of that.
So tell me a little bit about what faith and work life offers. Like if I'm a lay person in a church in the area that you serve, or do you serve nationally? Tell me a little bit about what you actually offer.
Well, first of all, we're committed to helping to wipe out a dreaded disease. There's a disease that is in Christendom, and it's called SSD syndrome. And this disease is very prevalent. You can tell if someone has that disease if they go to church on Sunday and when they show up at work on Monday, they forgot what they heard on Sunday. So someone that has that disease might say that my work is a curse, or the dreaded workplace, or I hate my job, or things of that nature. So those would be some of the symptoms of SSD syndrome. And it affects probably 90-95% of Christians.
Oh, I would agree. That's what I hear every day.
And so SSD syndrome stands for Sacred Secular Divide Syndrome.
Sacred Secular Divide. I was thinking you were going to say slipping from Sunday disease or something. No. Sacred Secular Divide.
So let me unpack that for you. So
please do.
What happens is the sacred is what we do on Sunday. On Sunday,
so we think.
Or so we think. And what happens is we think that the work that we do at the church, it's called church work. I'm an usher at my church. I enjoy being an usher. Some people teach Sunday school. Some give out communion. That's church work. And when we do that on Sunday, that's the sacred. And then we go into Monday and we go into the secular world. And we don't realize that there's the church work and the work of the church. You see, the work of the church is on Monday when we leave. We go to the church on Sunday for fellowship, for time with Christ, to be equipped and discipled, so that Monday we do the work of the church.
Patrice, I knew we would like this guy.
Now, I'll give you one more example of this. And churches are getting better. There is a movement and a groundswell among pastors and churches who are embracing and understand that they've not spent enough time. They spend some time trying to equip their members, but not enough. But they need to spend more time equipping their members for how to apply biblical principles in the workplace.
That's right.
And how to understand that work is ministry. And here's one example. It's kind of a sad one, but it's true. This one woman was given a testimonial about her work, and she said, on Sunday, I teach Sunday school at my church. Important job, right? So here's this lady teaching principles, biblical principles and biblical stories to 3rd and 4th graders. And she has them for an hour. Their parents are in church, and she's got those kids. And it's awesome, and they're receptive, and they're open vessels. She says, so once a year, the church, they pull all the Sunday school teachers up to the front of the church, and they pray for us and they lay hands that we would be just the best Sunday school teachers we could be on Sunday. And then she took a deep breath and she said, they've never once prayed for me for the 40 hours a week that I teach third grade in the public school, where I have 30 kids in my class who don't know Christ.
Wow.
Wouldn't it be awesome if they could lift me up in prayer, that I can also be the light and teach those people through my actions about Christ?
Wow. Wow.
That is profound. That is why we're here. Wow.
Stephen, how does faith and work life help churches to be able to bring that divide?
Okay. Well, we do several things. Right now, of course, in Southern California, we're more active in our region because we're local and we can go there. But we offer workshops, seminars, speaking topics to churches, whether that's a midweek adult Bible study or an adult Bible study on Sunday or a Saturday conference. We have content and curriculum that they could use and speakers that would be glad to come and help them out. I met with one church that attended our conference. We do a conference once a year called the Faith at Work International Conference, and we bring in speakers who talk about how do you apply biblical principles to the workplace. Men, women, executives, middle level, all different types of people in the workplace. And so during the conference, we also have people from churches come, pastors and the like. And I made an offer. I said, look, if your church would like to begin a discipleship program in this area, just give me a call, follow up, send me an email, and we'll be glad to help. We volunteer our time. So a church in San Diego called me up and said they'd like to take me up on that offer to help them because they would like to start a ministry in their church. So I had breakfast with them, and I brought some material with me and some books that are available on our website we'll talk about in a minute. And I said, I'm a ministry catalyst. And you said catalyst at the beginning of the interview.
Yeah.
I said, I'm a ministry catalyst. And I said, I help churches start workplace or work-life ministries. And they said, oh, so you're a consultant. And I said, no, I'm not a consultant because you pay a consultant. I said, I'm a missionary. I'm free. I volunteer my time because this is ministry. This is how I participate in the Lord's plan for my life, is to help churches, because the church is the God-ordained equipping center. And we have wonderful parachurch ministries, and I'm involved with many of them. Part of the reason they exist is because the churches didn't have the bandwidth or the time to do discipleship in this area. But churches today are beginning to see that the workplace is where the majority of the people spend the majority of the time with the majority of people who don't know Christ.
Amen.
So churches who are committed to discipleship and evangelism have understood now that they need to prepare their people to be better evangelists in the place where they spend 70% of their time. So we sat down and I shared with them, I've done some research, and I did a sort of a survey of 12 churches that have work-life ministries. And I put together a matrix of each of the church and what the activities of a work-life ministry looks like at those churches. And it varies from one activity all the way up to a church like Saddleback, which has a full-time staff member and assistant. So they could be 15 different activities. And I shared the matrix with them. And I basically said, our ministry is not prescriptive. We're not going to tell you what to do in your church because every church is different. They have their own flavor, their own cadence, their own what they do. So I said, what I'm just sharing is how other churches have done it for you to begin to pray about and for you to begin to meet with some of your business and workplace leaders and to say, what could or should it look like at this church? And then begin to listen from God to say, what would it look like here? Maybe it is just a once-a-year speaker. Maybe it's a quarterly speaker. Maybe it's a home Bible study where they're beginning to go through one curriculum. Christianity Today has a book that's on our website. It's called Faith and Work. And it's 12 chapters. You can do one chapter a week. It's got discussion, questions, and so forth. So any church could begin a work-life small group tomorrow and begin to equip the saints. Some pastors do sermon series. So there's a variety of things that churches can do. And on our website, there's a church button, and they can click there. And people could call me, email me and say, hey, Steve, we're thinking about this. This is what we're thinking about doing. I'll be happy to spend the time. This is what I do.
So you kind of come alongside churches.
I'm a Barnabas to the church.
And kind of equip them.
Yes.
Now, what led you to want to incorporate biblical entrepreneurship in your overall strategy?
Well, about 8 months ago, I went to work for an entrepreneur, a gentleman who started companies. And he wanted to create a global entrepreneur community. He's a Christian businessman. And to begin to take some biblical principles and share them with entrepreneurs and some of the best business practices. And he also wanted to, he's from China, and he also wanted to share them with the entrepreneurs in China. And as you know, China is going through extreme makeover, entrepreneurship and Christian edition. There's there's probably more entrepreneurs in China than there are people in the United States. Today, there are more Christians in China. I met with a group of Christians from China, Christian CEOs, and they showed me a PowerPoint. And in that PowerPoint, they showed the map of the world. And over here was China, and here was the United States. Here it is right here. And all the arrows from China were pointing to the United States. We're training up businessmen to understand biblical principles, to go to America, to evangelize America, the lost land.
Isn't that humbling? Wow.
And so, anyway, so I thought about, working with this entrepreneur, and then I started reading about entrepreneurship. And we wouldn't be sitting here today. We couldn't be interviewed today. We couldn't do anything today if it wasn't for an entrepreneur that had an idea that did something.
That's right.
So entrepreneurship touches every area of our life.
That's right.
And the only way to improve the life of an individual or society is through an entrepreneur. Now, not everybody's an entrepreneur, but then you could be an entrepreneur inside of a company, or you could be that person who's a Barnabas that comes alongside an entrepreneur to help them realize their dreams. But entrepreneurship is sort of the straw that stirs the drink, that makes it happen. And so I started this position in July, and I didn't know I was going to get all excited about biblical entrepreneurship, but my eyes were opened, and I began to think about entrepreneurship. And there are lots of training programs on how to be a good worker and how to bring your faith into the workplace, but no one was really drilling down on the creation of a new enterprise, on creating innovation, creating a new product, creating jobs. And so, with the economy going through it is today, there's no longer one company employment for life. Company, when they're done with you, you're gone. And so people need to, if they've got a passion for an idea or something in them, they need to be equipped. So how could they be equipped, right? How can they believe if they've not heard the word?
That's right.
And so I didn't know, but then I got this email from the organization because I'm on a 101 email list.
Isn't everybody?
Anything that has to do with faith and work,
you're in there.
I'm on their list. Okay.
You have to have a staff person probably just to go through all of them.
I got this thing about biblical entrepreneurship, and it really intrigued me. So I clicked on your thing. I read about this biblical entrepreneurship. I signed up. The October was in September. I didn't know I was going in October.
Wow. I love how God connects people. This is just powerful. I'm so thankful that you've been able to share what you have with our listeners and viewers. I want to ask you, how can people get more information? Like if people are listening to the Kingdom Business Forum from out of state, they're not in California, they're not in Oregon, but they say, I need support from my church. They can get that through the faithandworklife.org site as well, right? So this is a national resource.
It's global. I've got information from, I also send out email devotions such as Patrice does, and I get a response from New Zealand. New Zealand sent me an email saying, we can't come to your conference. Do you record it? And can you send us the DVD? And so we ship the DVDs out there. So it is really global. People could get the resources and the like.
So they can get, go to your website if they want to start a ministry within their own church. Because I bet you there's a lot of listeners and viewers out there thinking, my pastor has never once talked about me as a business person. They are not equipping, how can I introduce this to my church? They could just contact you through your website then.
Yes, and the other thing they could do is, I can tell you that churches are very busy. So I hate to put it this way, but the sales cycle to bring something like this into a church could be as long as 3 years.
Wow.
And so what I would say is this, that you don't have to wait for your church. If you go to a church and you know 2 other people at work, Start your own small group. Let's meet once a month for breakfast or lunch.
Wow.
We've got this book. Let's go through it. That's number one. Number two, we also have resources, and if they email me, on how you could create a workplace fellowship group. So you can meet in your workplace. You can meet before work. If work starts at 8, you can meet at 7, or you can meet at lunchtime. Now, that might also create some complications occasionally, and so you might have to go to Starbucks because they don't want you to use the conference room. I'll tell you a story about a company. These Christian guys were meeting from 7 to 8. Work started at 8, so they would meet from 7 to 8 in the conference room that was empty. Nobody was using it, and they had Bible study and prayer. So the CFO came in one morning, and he went in and he talked to the CEO, and he said, "Do you know what they're doing before work from 7 to 8 in the conference room?" And he said, "No, what are they doing?" He says, "There's a bunch of people meeting, and they're having a Bible study and prayer meeting on our facility." And so the CEO said, "Well, what do you think about that?" And he said, "Well, I don't know, but I don't know if they're supposed to be doing that here." He said, "Well," the CEO was a Christian. He said, "Well, maybe, what would you think if they came in from 7 to 8 and they were on our computers and stealing our data and taking all of our customer clients?" I said, so he said, "Are they hurting anybody?" "No." "Is the room being used?" "No." "So help me understand what the problem is." He said, "Well, I don't know. I just don't know if that was right."
But look at how our culture has acclimated people to be offended by, afraid of, and really jumping on any efforts to advance Christendom. Wow.
One other thing I'd say, Vicki, is that we have also other resources. We have the employers and employee rights. What are your rights in the workplace?
I like that. Is that on your site?
What you can do and can't do. Okay, so we have that. And
let's link to that. We'll link to that throughout.
The other thing I have, it's not on the website, but if someone emails me, is I actually have human resource policies and procedures from a Fortune 500 company that was approved by the legal department and the HR department that says how to create a Christian fellowship group in a company and not get sued.
Wow. That's awesome.
So we have that available.
What a rich resource.
Right, time is short. You have such full information. Quickly, in 1 minute, what's the future look like for you in biblical entrepreneurship in Orange County?
Southern California, where we are, over 10,000 churches.
Yeah.
I am a licensed trainer and distributor.
Yeah.
I'd like to train 100 others to teach that curriculum so that we could be in 10,000 churches over the next 10 years. And the need is there. And the thing is, when a church runs the training program, we'll do it one night a week for 12 weeks, just like you would go through Crown Ministries or something like that, managing your money using biblical principles. And basically, we want to get on a cycle of every year, every 2 years, you run the class again because someone missed the first go-round, and they'll be ready for the second go-around. And then out of that would become small groups of entrepreneurs that would continue to meet once a month for accountability, for spiritual growth, and to help each other grow their companies, sort of going through a learning experience together.
Wow. Thank you, sir. Look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you, Stephen.
Okay. All right.
Wow, I love that. And I love what he said about his approach to using BE within his very established ministry already. It just shows how that collaboration is so rich. And I happen to like how he's teaching it too.
I know, because that's the way you do it.
That's how I teach it.
I
Is week by week, precept by precept. When people get this information about character and attitude and the principles and the practices of a biblical entrepreneur, and to realize that it impacts everyone in the workplace, not just the entrepreneur, that's powerful. And man, one of my favorite things that he shared was the sacred secular divide, the SSD syndrome.
That disease.
How many people suffer from that? I think so many people do in the workplace.
You know, we have a lot of work to do, but it's so encouraging, Vicki, to know that there are Stephens out there and to partner with them so that really together this load can seem so much more lighter. So I'm really excited. I look forward to going to California for the first business plan competition and really seeing. One of the things he wants to do is prepare biblical entrepreneurs so that he might send them to secular competition so they can win the prizes. Isn't that awesome?
That is incredible, and I just love the enthusiasm. I love the excellence with which he's doing it. Some of my takeaways, too, are going to be, for any of our listeners out there, maybe you're not an entrepreneur, maybe you're not ready to plant something in your church, but I love the ideas that he planted about us being an intrapreneur at our own companies. I love how he encouraged us to be a Barnabas, to someone who is an entrepreneur. So I think there's someone for everyone in this interview with Stephen Christensen. I want to give you that website again for our listeners. It is faithandworklife.org. We're going to link to it through the Kingdom Business Forum fan page on Facebook. If you haven't already, go out to Facebook, type in Kingdom Business Forum, like our fan page so that we can give you our full videos of all of our segments that we do here, and we'll link you to great resources like Stephen at Faith and Work Life. Thank you for being with us today, and God bless you.